one of the first things I ask my clients when I get to know them, I send out kind of a little questionnaire to get some information about them. But I love to hear their story.
Yes.
I love to hear their story, like how'd they get there?
Yes.
Where are they trying to go?
Yes.
And that really allows me to just get excited with them and partner with them and help them even reach their goals.
That's right. That's right. Being part of their story, and when I met you, you were doing this, and now we've been working together. We're building this thing together, although they're doing most of the driving, as they should. Right. But now you've gotten here. So yes, those journeys are always interesting. Do you have what's one thing you can share with us that you don't like about being a CPA and an entrepreneur?
Well, let me just quickly speak on that one that you just mentioned about watching them grow. I had one client that he came over on a Sunday and he was trying to get an investor, and he sat at my dining table on a Sunday and he says, I don't know how to talk about these numbers, and you've been doing that for me. And we spent all Sunday afternoon, evening, the next day again, and he flew off out of town to go meet with some investors and came back, and it was a successful meeting for him. And that was years ago, and now he is bursting at the seams and doing an amazing job. So it is so fun to see that part. So that's the funnest part. What part don't I like?
Yes.
I guess I would just say, the problem is finding good help. That's just, everybody, I guess, across a lot of businesses are having a hard time finding the right mix and workload and right people, I guess, for the team, right? Because I'm very picky, and so I really want to make sure that we have the right people representing the work that I want to do.
You know what? I wouldn't use the term picky. I would use it, maybe you're process driven, and not everybody's willing to follow the process, right?
I think you're right.
I had a conversation with one of my tax managers, and we were interviewing someone today, actually, and we always find that experienced people have a hard time kind of incorporating into the processes that we have. And when you said picky, it kind of took me back there because it's not that we're picky, it's just there's a way to do it so that the workflow moves a little bit smoother based on our experience with the client, the experience with our tech stack, and how we want the output to be. Right. So I
think you're right. I agree with that 100%.
Well, is finding people hard because there's a shortage of accountants and CPAs out there, or, why are you finding it hard to find people?
Well, in fact, there is a shortage of CPAs right now. The pipeline is a lot less than what it has been in years past, and so just finding young folks that want to do the work and actually make being a CPA their career, it's difficult right now. So.
Well, actually, you know what? Let me ask one question on that. Why should I become a CPA? Right.
Why should you become a CPA? Yeah. Well, I think
if you were to, speak to a room full of college, or let's even go down to high school students. The fireman comes through and says how awesome theirs is, all the excitement and all that, and then you, CPA, walks in, what would you tell this room full of high schoolers that accounting and on to becoming a CPA is the route for them to go?
Well, I think the CPA is the route for someone who likes to know a little bit about everything, right? And when you help contribute to an end goal, in order to do that, you've got to know about the entire operation of a business and a function that someone's performing. So in order to do that, you can't just it's not just a numbers game. It is about the entire process. And so I would say if you're someone who enjoys understanding how everything works, then that would be someone that is to consider being a CPA.
Good. For me, it was, I've always been a business-minded person. And when I walked in the College of Business, I was like, what can I do here? What kind of degree can I do? And I was looking through each one of them, and I was like, wait, well, accounting has everything, inside the curriculum. You get to do finance, you get to do economics, you get to do marketing, you get to do information systems, you get to do all these different pieces inside the
That's true.
College of Business, and I just like that I got to touch. I guess finance also. I won't leave you finance people out, you know. But
Yeah,
accounting got to touch on everything, and that's why I settled on accounting myself.
that's a good point.
You
And
know.
we do get a chance to do it all, don't we? in
Yes,
college?
we
Yeah.
do, and also we're also therapists too, you know, to our clients.
That is true. That is true.
What differentiates a CPA from just any bookkeeper or tax preparer? Because a lot of people come to me and they just mistake what a CPA is supposed to do versus a bookkeeper or a tax preparer. So in your words, what would you describe as a CPA? What kind of CPA are you?
Well, so, yeah, good question. I'm glad you said what kind of CPA are you, because there are different types of CPAs. So good point and good question, just like there are different types of attorneys. And so I would say the difference is bookkeepers make sure that things happen on a day-to-day basis, more, like you said, process-driven, whereas a CPA is an overarching, you're able to kind of take all the detail and make sense of it, basically, and see how it, make sure that it's properly in its place. But after it's already been done, I guess, and more strategic, helping you with a strategic outlook for the work that's been done throughout the month. So.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Well, you know, today we wanted to talk about accounting basics.
Okay.
Right. So let me introduce it this way. I'm a new business. So well, let's say I'm an individual. I'm thinking about going into business. I've got this startup idea. I want to get into business. If you could catch me at that point of just starting my business, what are the things that you would tell me to do so that I don't mess it up? I don't mess up my accounting, or when it comes time for tax time, I'm not running all over the place trying to figure out where everything is. What are those, maybe a few things that you would tell me to, here, do it this way, structure it this way?
Well, what I've found most people need to remember is when they're starting out new, being very clear about what transactions are business and what transactions are personal. And it's very difficult to do that when you're starting out, but that is a discipline that if you learn that up front, it makes your life easier for years to come. So being very careful to keep your business transactions separate as well as your personal, and having a system in which you do that.
Oh.
Yeah, everyone needs a system. Waiting until the end of the year to figure out what has happened all year long, or putting it in some kind of organized manner is difficult. So a system will allow you to do that throughout the year. And that's some kind of software, may it be QuickBooks, or there are different types of options out there today, but some process and system that helps you track what you need to, all the transactions that are going on in your business.
Well, let's talk about the first thing you mentioned, you know, separating my business transactions and knowing what's business and what's personal. Are you saying that we should use a different account, separate credit cards? Like, how do I do that?
Absolutely, absolutely. There should be one account or more, but preferably just one when you're starting out that just includes business transactions. The problem with mixing the two is, you know, most businesses will go out and become a limited liability company, and people get confused. They think that that is a business or a tax designation, but that actually is a legal designation.
That's right.
And so people, if you're going to go out and spend the time and the effort to get an LLC, then you might as well treat it that way.
Yes.
That means keep everything separate related to that LLC. When you start to mix, then there's no need for an LLC. So keeping it separate is super important because you know, that's kind of what you're off in trying to accomplish is a separate business entity.
Yeah. No, that's good because notice some people like a special type of credit card because of all the points and all this, you know, and they want to use this one for this reason or that reason. And usually, let's say, for example, like the credit card, I tell folks that, you know, that personal credit card that you like all the points, there's usually a business version of it that you can get, right?
Oh,
and
good.
then therefore, you know, you can enjoy those same travel rewards or cash back or whatever it may be that you just didn't want to let go of this credit card for.
That's a good point.
Yeah, definitely having those separate business accounts, that's good. Now, when you say a system, There's a new system, well, it's not really new, but there's one that we're recommending now. It's called Wave Accounting. It's actually free.
I think I've heard of that, yes.
Yes, I recommend that too because Wave Accounting is free. It almost works similar-ish to QuickBooks. There are some limitation. QuickBooks, you'll have to pay for it. But Wave is free, and maybe for that person that's starting out, maybe that's a good place to kind of get your feet wet into recording your own transactions and using that system like you're saying, right? So.
What size business would you recommend using Wave? Because I've heard a little bit, actually I've had a client actually mention it to me, but tell me what size client do you recommend referring Wave?
I would say someone that has less than 50 transactions a month.
Okay.
Right.
That's good.
It's easy to use. It's easy to go in there and categorize each transaction because just like all these cloud accounting systems nowadays, they'll actually connect directly to your bank account, pull the transactions from the bank account, and all you do is just go in there and label it. Well, if you see Starbucks in there, you just label it meals. If you see Office Depot, you label it supplies,
Nice.
And based on the type of business that you are, you may have other transactions in there, but you just label each transaction so that when you go into the reporting section, you can now see your financial statements, such as your profit and loss,
Very nice.
and balance sheet, cash flow statement, and all that.
Very nice. Okay.
All right.
Good to know.
So I would recommend it even for families, actually.
I was just thinking, I've got some people that I kind of think could use that.
Yeah, even personal budgeting, right? Because if you're making all this money, but at the end of the month you never see where it's going, or you never understand why, you're not keeping anything, or you're not able to even save,
Yeah.
right? It's free. All right, just go sign up.
There you
Wave Accounting. All right, I think
Got it. That's a good
the
tip.
website is like Wave Labs or something like that. We'll put it down in the show notes for you guys. All right.
Good.
But yeah, Wave is definitely a system that we'll recommend as that intro to getting your feet wet.
Very nice.
Now, what else would you recommend? Now, let's say I move up from that startup. I'm already a business that's running. I've maybe been operating 3, 5 years, 10 years. I've never had my accounting done. I'm always feeling overwhelmed when it's tax time. What would you recommend for me at that point? All right.
Yeah, so there are numerous, I always refer to QuickBooks Online just because it allows your CPA or a team to connect with you wherever they are, right? And however, another advantage to that is it allows you to connect with other different softwares and apps. So I really recommend any app that will allow you to stay organized, keep a filing system online that interfaces with your accounting system. So, and there's numerous ones. There's one called HubDoc, and there's other bill pay options that you could use that keeps up with all your details. So, yeah, Veeam, there's Melio, there's Bill.com, lots of different options for bill payment if you start to have a lot of volume in those spaces that interface right with QuickBooks, your accounting system.
So as an existing business that, gets overwhelmed, what you're saying there is now just find a way to get more organized.
Absolutely.
Throughout the year, rather than, at the end of the year trying to collate everything in the first 3 months or first 4 months, or you're one of those that extend and, give us heartburn in October.
Yeah, always behind, always behind.
Right, of the following year, trying to file the taxes for the previous year. It's kind of, you're saying get structured in the middle of the year or throughout the year so that tax time is more automated.
Absolutely.
Actually that word reminds me of a meeting that I had with a client. She's a baker, has an awesome bake shop over in Frisco, and I was telling her that accounting and payroll and taxes in a business should almost be automated for a business owner, because the operational side of your business should be what takes up a whole lot of your brain power.
Absolutely.
Right? Not trying to figure out where are my receipts, where's my transactions, what's my profit and loss. I need to pull, last year's financials to be able to get a business loan and so on and so forth, right? But getting structured will help you be able to do that on time, anytime you're trying to grow your business.
I like that. Yeah, absolutely correct.
Yeah. So, and we've got lots of different tools, like Michelle is saying. No, that's good. If with all this knowledge that you know now, if you were to go back and restart your entrepreneurial journey, what would you do differently?
I think I would do two things differently. One is I probably would have done it a lot sooner. I would have started this journey a lot sooner.
Oh, we're going to come back to that.
I would have. And I would have been a little bit more, I would have been fine with bringing more people on board a little bit earlier to help me, the team.
Ooh. Come back to that.
Yes, let's come back to that.
I mean, you said you would do it earlier. What do you mean? Were you?
I was on the fence for a while. I was, contemplating, like, when do I do this? Do I do it next year? How about my birthday next year? How about, I kept pushing it out for different reasons. When my kids get older, there was so many things, so I had two busy boys. They were in basketball, baseball, soccer, swimming. They were just very busy. I was like, I can't do this. And what I ended up getting was so much feedback from them was, Mom, what took you so long? This is a great idea. They're so supportive and so excited about me being in business now. So I do often think, well, why didn't I do this earlier?
I mean, was it the fear of jumping out into not knowing where the next paycheck is coming
Absolutely.
from? Because you were working full time
Absolutely.
as a CPA, right? So you were working in industry. And you jumped out full time into entrepreneurship. So is that jump that?
It was very much a transition for me, I'll be honest with you. I mean, you're right, I was very careful and cautious, I guess. And so it was a nice transition. I was working and just had a little part-time client. And before I knew it, that part-time really, before I knew it, I mean, there was just a lot of activity that I had come in my way, and so then I made a decision.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So is the recommendation then maybe try a part-time earlier? Is that what you're telling people? Instead of just keep pushing it off and just having that fear.
I would say plan, but I don't feel like you have to even do it part-time. I feel like if you do the right planning, if you are starting to communicate to people that what your intent is, then it did not take long at all for me to ramp up at all. I mean, it was very, very quick. And there's so many.
What you actually just said in there, but you said it really fast. Is to tell people what you're about to do.
Yes.
An example is I have clients that come to me asking for, hey, Toastin, what's the next investment? What's the next investment? I said, I don't know, but just tell everybody, because they might now tell you what they are working on and pull you into that investment, right? So
That's right.
telling people, just put it out there.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's exactly right.
Okay, then you also mentioned that you would pull in people, I'm guessing staff, you're talking about staff, to help you earlier.
A lot earlier.
Ooh, I like this one, because I have a theory on everything, and I have a great
What's
one
your theory on this?
Oh,
Because maybe
I was supposed to ask you that question.
I want to hear this, because I mean, this is something that I really struggle with. I feel like I want to do the right thing and make the right decision, hiring decisions. So I sometimes will take a lot longer. So tell me, I mean, I feel like I struggle with that in that area. So.
Okay, I'll give you mine and then we'll hear yours, all right? But I call it the golden handcuff. I know there's a strategy behind golden handcuff using life insurance and executives and all that stuff, but mine is more towards the professional themselves, right? And it's where when you start a business, you're the only one operating that business. And therefore, you're the only one making the money. You're the only one spending all the money. And therefore, you start to enjoy a certain lifestyle. It could be lifestyle. It could just be, I like seeing
I like my margins.
Yeah, I like my margins. I like my bank account looking a certain way, and so on and so forth. And then that kind of holds you back, because as you grow and scale, you are not able to cut that margin to bring somebody else. You're not able to reduce how much is flowing into your bank account to bring somebody else, right? So therefore, you keep slowing it down, and by the time you really, really need somebody, you may have too much work, or maybe you start getting burned out, or maybe you just start getting overwhelmed, and then, or maybe start turning away business.
That is true. All of that is true. All of that.
Right?
I experienced every bit of that. Yes.
And therefore, you don't grow like you want to. You can't scale like you want to. You start getting frustrated. Or maybe it now takes too much time for you to hang out with your boys, or go to their games, or do this or do that. All the stuff that you were scared of now is starting to happen because more and more of your time is being invested into this business, which somebody should have helped you from day one now.
From day one.
That's my
right.
golden handcuff. I can talk a lot. So I'm going to hand it over to you. And what did you mean by, you would have brought on someone a little earlier?
Well, I mean, that is completely it. Even if it was someone part-time, being in business by yourself, you need someone to kind of talk to and bounce ideas off of. And, if you're lucky enough to find someone like that early, that's very just valuable. Because you're doing all the work, you're not getting out, you're not networking like you used to. You're not going you're not going to any games anymore. Like your people, you're just working, and so which is fun, but you do need that balance.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's what I would do different for sure. I mean, I have to kind of force it myself to make sure that I get out and do things that I used to do. So.
Yeah.
And that's because I have a team now to help.
There you go. There you go. How much would you have invested in that next person? And how early? Would it be like day one?
Day one.
Day one.
Day one. Mm-hmm.
And investing in somebody good?
Absolutely.
Senior staff? What kind of level are you looking at? Manager or?
No, not managers. Just someone probably very basic level. Even someone that would just be able to onboard clients for me. Just that one part. The phone calls, the setup of, what you need to get in place, organization of the clients, getting them set up on systems and all that. That is something that I feel like someone that's a trained professional can do. They don't have to be a CPA to do that.
No.
Or an accountant. No. So just the whole onboarding process, the communication throughout the year, all that. They don't have to be, if I can be free to do the work initially, and they're just taking calls, they're just making sure that people have got what they need, the communication is going back and forth, someone that can, a point of contact for folks that are calling to get quick questions answered, that would have been very valuable for me.
Yeah, in our firm, we've stopped calling our admins. We call them project managers. All right,
Smart.
That's really what we need. We need people that help, get all that onboarded or get you structured in such a way that you know what work is coming, what work is behind, who the bottleneck is, and if we're making money, if we're collecting. That's project management. That's beyond admin where you just answer the phone and you just not. No, we need people to help us organize a little bit more than before.
Yeah.
Right. And structure that business. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's very, very good. Anything else you would have done differently beyond those two things there?
No, well, on a personal note, I mean, I spend a lot more time now, but again, that's because of the people, almost daily, looking at what things can I do to make the experience better for my clients. Therefore, they're happier, and I can either expand what I do for them because they're happy with what they're currently getting, so they allow me to do more work for them, increasing revenue for that one client. Or, of course, like I said, they tell others about the work that we do for them. So just focusing on what I'm allowing myself now to spend time each day on, what do I do to make this experience better for this client, or the rest of the clients. So.
Okay.
So that's kind of a new thing that I've kind of started to do recently. Just
you
really
set
focusing
aside
on
time to, have that thought session or.
Absolutely, it is priority each and every day at the beginning of the day. So what do I do to make that experience better for them, and how do I make sure that I measure that and follow up with that at the end of the week?
I was going to ask you, do
yeah.
you measure that?
I do.
Do you use a system to measure that, or writing down some notes and comparing?
I have some milestones that I say, like, if I want to do this for them, by the time I get to, the end of the month or the end of the quarter, I will have delivered 3 additional things that will help them
Okay.
get visibility to how they can improve, right? You know, get better understanding of their contractors, giving them some, you know, some analysis that I've done for them so they can see. So it may be a month from now or maybe a quarter, but I do this every quarter. I reset every quarter. And so I figure out what I want to do there to improve.
Good. Now, for those people watching that are thinking about jumping into entrepreneurship, maybe a question would be, how do you feel working for yourself than working for somebody else? How do the two feel?
Oh, I love it because I get to work with people that I like to work with. I mean, it's the best. I work with people that I want to work with. I mean, you have that choice when you have your own business, right? I mean, if there is a client that it's just not a good fit, then
It's not a good fit.
not a good fit.
It's not a good fit.
Absolutely. And I do love challenges. I mean, that's one thing I loved about my work in corporate America is the time that I got on challenging projects. And I can create those all the time now.
Nice,
So.
nice. Well, it looks like we're coming close to wrapping up now. But so, if there's one thing that you can impart into the lives of folks that are watching, what is that thing? What is one thing you want to share with them?
Well, it's funny you should say that because I was thinking I wanted to hear from you more.
Oh man,
I wanted to hear more from you.
They'll get lots of chances. You know, we'll do sessions where I'm out, you know, speaking to different audiences and all that stuff. But
Why don't we both give one thing? Because I enjoy hearing from you too. I feel like
man.
there's a lot that people can learn from you, Tosin. I have learned a lot from you. And I've not even shared, I've not even shared like all the good things that I've had a chance to call and ask you about along this journey. But I would say one thing is don't underestimate yourself. Don't
Nice.
underestimate.
Nice.
Just focus. Just focus on what you want to do and go do it. Focus and go do it. To give yourself the opportunity and allow yourself to focus on what you want and go after it.
Hey, that's good. That's good. Well, since you gave me the alley-oop,
Yeah.
I'll give you a whole bunch of things. I don't know how many number of things, but I'll just say here, you know, for me, it's going to be if you're trying to go into business or you are already in business, number one is to get structured. So getting structured means register a business. Don't just do it for doing its sake. Don't let it be a hobby. If you're going to be serious about business, be serious about business. Number two, open up a business checking account, a business credit card. Yes, like we said, don't mix, all right? If you want, you can even open up the business account in the same account as your personal, right? So that when you log in, you'll have everything on the same screen. All right, you can transfer back and forth and you know, you can have those same kind of credit cards with the travel miles or the points or whatever it is, it's there in the same bank. Number three, get a system. There's Wave Accounting that's free, there's QuickBooks for that next level, and there's even higher, like Intact or NetSuite based on the business, on your business and its performance. All right, and number three, have a good CPA, all right? You see two right here? Definitely reach out. And definitely, business is not as hard as you think, all right? If you're passionate about it, definitely jump in. Don't wait. If you have to test the waters by doing it part-time, test the waters by doing it part-time. But number one, make sure you talk about it. Make sure you network about what you're doing.
Tell people.
Thank you all very much. This has been a Business Gist session. Have a good one.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey.